My last one is then clients. So the thought here is, how do we develop more profitable relationships? 3 thoughts for the challenges. Margin pressure, you've all mentioned that already, which is clients wanting more for less. So that's the pressure which we're all having to deal with. We're moved from retainer culture to this whole idea that everything can be based on projects. A quick story on that. There's a young but very successful ad agency I work with in London who said that we really need to come and see you, Charles, really in a sort of a bit of emergency. I said, okay. So they come in and they said, we've run out of money. And you just think, how can you possibly run out of money? Admittedly, they weren't collecting some of the debts, but that's beside the point. But actually, what they hadn't been able to do is manage to change from starting the year and writing out £5 million worth of revenue on retainers to building a system and process to managing project-based fees. And those kind of changes do require quite substantive alterations in the way that you run your business in terms of finance. And last one is procurement. We spend a lot of time talking about procurement. So what do successful agencies do when it comes to client relationships? Over the last few years, a lot of what we've done in PR particularly is separate out delivery from strategy. So this started probably about 7 years ago. I was working for a consumer PR business, and they had 2 issues, which is they weren't making enough margin, and clients were complaining they were too expensive. Because what was happening, they were taking both the doing bit and the thinking bit, adding it together, and aggregating the price. So in other words, they were too expensive for the doing, and they were not charging enough for the strategy. So a lot of our clients in PR now have 2 distinctive parts of their business. They have execution, the whole sort of press office, media relations, and then they have strategy. And strategy is more like management consultancy. You are not selling it by the hour, and you're not even selling it by the day. You're selling it by the project, and you're giving strategic advice, so it's £50,000 or £150,000 or whatever it might be. Once you are in the hourly rate business, it's very, very hard to make good margin in this day and age, because it's very easy for procurement to start cutting you down. Now, the output of this is we had to reduce our prices for doing the press office and the media relations. So that just became like a factory. And if we made 10, 12 points out of that, we were happy. But more importantly, we started charging for all of the strategic work. And of course, the product of that was higher margins, but the extra byproduct was the relationship with the clients went up. And the 2 founders of this business, I have to be careful not to mention any names, now work at board level with their main packaged good client, and they're the only Marcoms agency in the room. So the ad agency isn't in the room, the data people aren't in the room, they are the only Marcoms agency allowed in the room. Because over the last 3 or 4 years, they developed the consultancy product so strong that the client now respect them and want them in that role. Value-based pricing. A lot of agencies do time plus overhead plus profit, which we just call, cost plus plus. So that's just selling time, like lawyers. No offense to you if you're married to lawyers, but you know what I mean. Majority of our clients, so agencies, are probably at the top end of the game, so they are disproportionately more profitable. So most of our clients make higher margins than anyone else. Half of the margin comes from success fees. So in other words, they're able to have the relationship with clients where they say, if we say we're going to do what we're going to do, we would like to get a bonus for doing it. Often I'm not going to go into the detail of it, you can quiz me at lunchtime if you want, but one of the things when I run a pricing workshop with people is often the question comes back saying, well, I can't trust my client to pay me the bonus. Anyone guess what my answer to that is? Brilliant. Absolutely. Why on earth are you working with them in the first place if you don't trust them? And that comes on to the next point, which is about selecting clients. Too often, we chase everything which goes past our front window. It's about understanding that not all clients will value your thinking. and having the courage to stand up and say, it's okay if you don't want to work with us. And this is all about building the right kind of culture and the right kind of confidence. I'm not pretending this is easy, by the way. This is really hard to do. But it is possible if you have a great product and you have the courage to stand up and defend it. That links to the last one, which is about being brilliant. Our best clients are brilliant at what they do and have the confidence to stand up and ask for the right fees to go with that. So 3 tips for you to take away. One is have something like a profit improvement program. In other words, build into the process where we train, I'm going to use the word again, train the people on the coalface about how to make money. What's fascinating is we tend to promote people into management roles, but we don't actually teach them how necessarily to negotiate or make money. When we run profit improvement programs, we can actually guarantee that your profit will go up by 20%. And one of my clients years and years ago, as a practical client, said, what's the catch, Charles? The catch is you have to do what we tell you to do. And so the second tip is make sure you're really clear about how you select those clients. We have 3 which we quite often share, which is creative. In other words, it's going to be reputation building. It's going to grow, and it's going to be profitable. And the rule is you have to have 2 out of 3. Having said that, you can't have the same 2 the whole time. And the last point, which is confidence. One of the training things I do quite often is about energy in the room. And sometimes agencies say, well, we're not really doing very well in new business pitches. Our conversion rate isn't very high. And you just know why the conversion rate's very high, because when you walk into the room, you don't really want to sit with them, to be honest. And people say, well, we didn't win the piece of business because we were too expensive. One of our clients is an intermediary. I presume you know what intermediary, so people introduce agencies to clients. If the head of the intermediary is here now, she would say that no client ever appoints a new agency based on price. However, they often use it as an excuse. Certainly in England, where I come from and work, it's easier to say you're more expensive than I don't like you as much. Okay? Because it's not very nice to say that. So you say, well, you were a great team, really enjoyed meeting you, but you're just too expensive. So people never choose agencies based on price.